Good morning and welcome everybody to our economic development hearing today, Wednesday, March 22nd, 9:30 a.m. in room 423. In order to allow as many people to testify as possible, there will be a 2-minute time limit per testifier. And please know that committee members have received and read your testimony, so if you'd like to stand on your written testimony, that would be appreciated by the committee. We are continuing to use our hybrid system with Zoom and live testifiers. So I'd like to ask members on Zoom to please keep yourself muted with the video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is complete. Also, please avoid using any profanity and from using any trademarked or copyrighted images in your background. And first up, we have Senate Bill 924. Senate Draft 2, House Draft 1 relating to taxation eliminates the home mortgage interest deduction for second homes under the Hawaii income tax law. First up, we have Department of Taxation with comments.
Hello, Chair. Question of the enrichment of the Department of Taxation. Stand on the testimony of comments.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Department of Budget and Finance with comments. Not here. Hawaii Realtors in opposition. Also not here. We have Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii. The question on this bill is whether the additional revenue, if any, is going to be worth the additional complexity. We note that we already have a provision limiting the itemized deductions of higher income taxpayers, and the limit is much more restrictive than the federal one because the federal limit or the federal threshold for what we call the PEAS limitation is adjusted for inflation every year, and ours uses the federal limitation from 2009, so it's been a while. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none. Members, any questions?
No questions.
Majority Leader?
Yes, I have a question for Department of Taxation. I'm wondering, do you know how much revenues that would be gained from, or what would be this annual subsidy? What is the current annual subsidy for the second mortgage home deduction?
Sure. Appreciate the question, Majority Leader. I do have a revenue estimate of what the impacts for fiscal 24 to 29. For fiscal year 24 would be 11.7 million, 25, 12.3 million, 12.8 million, 13.3 million, 13.9 million, and 14.5 million.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions? Seeing none, moving on to the next measure. Senate Bill 597, Senate Draft 1 relating to taxation excludes income received from deferred compensation retirement plans from the state income tax for taxpayers who meet certain income requirements. First up, we have Department of Taxation with comments.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, David Richmond again from the Department of Taxation. Testimony of comments.
Thank you very much. And Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation. Our testimony tries to explain the historical context of the existing law. We already do provide an exclusion from income tax for income received as a pension for past services. Under current law, the exclusion does not apply to elective deferrals, such as are found in individual retirement accounts, 401k plans, 403b plans, and similar, and the rationale was that the individual was able to make a choice to contribute to the retirement plan instead of taking the contribution in cash presently, and thereby escape current taxation of those contributed earnings. But at that time, the individual making the choice understood that the price for that was taxation of those earnings when the individual received them from the plan. So what this bill proposes to do is to say, oh, well, okay, you made that choice, but we'll excuse the tax anyway. And we're not really sure why that policy choice is being made. And we suggest that if the rationale is to give some relief to those with lower incomes, then a better idea would be to work on things like the tax brackets and things like that, because the brackets we do have right now in the tax system date back to the 1960s, and they're so narrow that a family of four earning at the federal poverty line would be in the fifth tax bracket from the bottom, not the lowest one, not the second lowest, but the fifth. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much for allowing me to testify.
Thank you very much. Nobody else signed up to testify on this measure. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Members, any questions? See none, we're moving on to Senate Bill 795, Senate Draft 2, relating to taxes. Requires productions to provide evidence of reasonable efforts to comply with all applicable requirements to qualify for the motion picture, digital media, and film production income tax credit. Requires taxpayers be given notice and an opportunity to cure requirements for the motion picture, digital media, and film production income tax credit. First, we have Department of Taxation. Thank you very much. Next, we have DBED in support.
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee, Donnie Dawson, Hawaii Film Office. DBED stands on its written testimony, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have IATSE 665 in support.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tui Scanlon, President of IATSE Local 665. We stand on our written testimony in support and are available for any questions.
Thank you very much. And Motion Picture Association in support.
Thank you, Chair. Kathy Bañuelos with the Motion Picture Association in support of Senate Bill 795. I just will stand on my written testimony, but just wanted to highlight that the Motion Picture Association has conferred with DOTAX and agreed to take additional amendments in this committee to make some clarifying changes that we think improves the bill and again encourages compliance by all parties. And I'll reserve the rest of my time to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii. Our observation is that some of the requirements that were added last year to the motion picture and TV production credit could be very draconian if applied literally. For example, there's a requirement that a production be compliant with all tax laws. So presumably that would mean, if applied literally, that if they made one payment late, then the entire credit goes poof, which we don't think is appropriate. We think this bill would add some sanity and sensibility to the process. And we'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's all the people who signed up to testify. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Members, do we have any questions? I have a question for DOTAX. Just to clarify, is there further clarification needed? You know, it's in the Motion Picture Association said that you guys have worked on the clarification that was put in the WAM at the end.
Yes. And
is there further clarification needed, or was that enough?
That was enough. It's more of a compliance issue, and that was negotiated. And as the previous speaker had mentioned, that it's been in discussions.
Okay, thank you very much. If no further questions, we'll be moving on. Senate Bill 801, Senate Draft 2, relating to a qualified internships tax credit, establishes a qualified internship income tax credit for employers of qualified interns. Requires qualified internships to fulfill requirements of the Department of Education and University of Hawaii work-based learning programs. Provides an application and certification process for claims of credits to be administered by the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. Requires reports to the legislature from Department of Taxation and the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. and appropriates funds. First, we have Department of Labor and Industrial Relations in support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony and offer comments to the proposed legislation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Department of Taxation with comments.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, David Mitchell, Director of Taxation. Stand on our written testimony.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Hawaii Kids Can in support.
Aloha, Chair Holt, Vice Chair Lamosao, and members of the committee. Hawaii Kids Can stands on our written testimony in strong support of SB 801 SD2 with a few notes. We must feel incredible urgency about ensuring our youth are prepared for great jobs here in Hawaii. SB 801 SD2 further builds the policy infrastructure we need in our work-based learning programs to get students the experiences and connections they need. Students deserve to have a wide range of options with diverse employers to discover their dream careers. So what are the stakes? Survey data from the Census Bureau indicates that in 2021, more Native Hawaiians resided in the continental U.S. than in Hawaii. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, on average, almost 20 people left the state every day last year. Quality work-based learning with Hawaii's employers for local students is one important piece of the overall solution we'll need to address our state's affordability crisis. There is no silver bullet, but the forward-thinking approaches like SB 801 SD2 will directly push back on our continual brain drain. We also wanted to flag the suggested amendments in our testimony, which we feel like will significantly streamline and clarify this bill's process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Chamber of Commerce in Hawaii in support.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you so much for scheduling this bill. This is a priority bill for us, which came out of our Education Policy Committee, which is comprised of public and private stakeholders. We have a team at the Chamber that's just invested in education workforce development initiatives, and one of them is work-based learning. So at this time, if I may, call on my colleague, Lord Ryan Lizardo, Director of Work-Based, so he can explain more of why internships are important.
Thank you, Sherry. Aloha, Chair Holt, Vice Chair Lamosao, and members of the committee. First, I'm honored to be standing in front of both all of you on behalf of SB 801. My name is Lord Ryan Lazario. I'm currently the Director of Work-Based Learning here at the Chamber of Commerce, Hawaii. However, today I come not only as a director, but also a proud Campbell alumni, teacher, and community supporter for our future SABRE leaders. So I graduated from Campbell High School in 2010, where I served as student body president, editor-in-chief of the newspaper, as well as National Honor Society president. Although my school resume was impressive, I didn't realize how much I didn't know when it came to real-world experiences outside the classroom. At that time, work-based learning didn't exist in my worldview. Work-based learning is a vehicle that exposes young leaders to potential careers that they are very passionate about. This includes guest speakers, field trips, mentorships, and ultimately internships. These are all things I did not get to experience in high school, although I was able to discover my passion through other extracurricular activities. This became evident to me when I went to school at Chapman University and attended my first big job interview in a Volcom shirt and faux leather jacket. My mentor in college, a strong Asian woman who taught sociology, told me that in the real world, I would have been sent home immediately. She, however, took me under her wing and became my mentor in the world of higher education, a career path I was interested in. That served as my first big WBL experience. And then I would have my first internship at an LGBTQ plus elderly home in my junior year of college, which I believe was very too late. I was lucky to come back to teach at Campbell High School in 2014, where I had the honor of teaching social studies for 6 years, and also served as the academy lead of public and human services there, where I got to see the real meaning behind work-based learning and why it was deeply important for our students' growth and development. From that said, coming from the largest high school in the state, there are also a lack of opportunities for our students to get those work-based learning internships and opportunities that at this time here in the state of Hawaii is going to be more of a need with our ongoing work in work-based learning as well as the academy model. And so this bill essentially provides an opportunity for more employers to get involved and also really becomes a vehicle for equity for our students who will have more of these opportunities in the future and more paid internship opportunities we provide to have our students from underserved and under-resourced communities be able to have the opportunity to earn and learn. And so I think of like three students in particular, as well as our businesses. So one is of Keziah, a senior at Pearl City High School, that through her mentorship with a young professional, decided to change her major to business before attending college. I think of also my former student Kaya, who had to go to Las Vegas in order to get an internship because there were just no available internships here in the state of Hawaii, even though she herself was a class president at Campbell High School and now a Scheidler Business School student at UH. I also think of Gerald, who at Waipahu High School had the opportunity to do a non-paid internship but couldn't do so because he had to support his family at home and continue to work a part-time job in order to do so. In addition to that, we have a lot of small and medium companies who want to offer internships but just don't have the capacity to do so, whether that be financially or through their staff capacity as well. If you talk to any of the students currently going through their high school experience, you'll see just the level of caliber that they have just increased in terms of their ability to share what they want to do and passionate about, just through the work-based learning experience that they've experienced through their academy models or CTE programs. And so I think investment in this bill is really an investment in the future. And so I implore you to really take a look at this bill, and my hope is that you support it through this internship tax credit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kapolei Chamber of Commerce in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Kieran Polk, Executive Director of the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce. So we stand in strong support of SB 801 ST2. Just like to say that the Kapolei Chamber, with our growth on the west side, we have established a Pukui Ohana, or career hub. And one of the things that we've noticed and seen is so many of our employers, especially our small businesses, would like the opportunity to participate and offer these work-based learning experiences for our students, but they don't have the resources or capacity. And at the same time, they do have labor issues and such, and this is a great opportunity to have our students experience it and then also potentially walk into the workforce at a later time. So we thank you for this consideration, your consideration on this measure, and let me know if you have any questions. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Retail Merchants of Hawaii in support. Not present. Lord Brian also testified. Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika for Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We have some written testimony, which you have. We'll stand on that and answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Kaiser Permanente in support. Not here. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? If not, members, any questions?
No question.
Majority Leader?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask a question of Chamber of Commerce. Hi, Sherry, for being here. I wanted to ask you, this bill is in the form of a tax credit. At any time, did you consider an outright grant to the employers for doing this type of program?
Thank you. Well, initially we started with tax credit, and then we did have a discussion with the finance chair about it, and didn't mention grant program, but this time we don't have a vehicle for that. So we thought we'd start with the tax credit, and then from there transition to a grant program. So having a sunset on the tax credit and then transitioning to a grant program.
Okay. And then, can I ask a follow-up question? Is the tax credit would equal to what percentage of the student intern's salary? Would it cover the entire salary during the length of the internship, or just a portion of
Just
it?
a portion, right.
So it would be
a shared one, right.
thing with the employer?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to Senate Bill 951, Senate Draft 2, relating to the tax credit for research activities. Adds a cap for the amounts of tax credits for research activities that an eligible taxpayer and the taxpayer's related entities may receive per taxable year. Consolidates the survey and certification requirements for tax credits for research activities. Amends the annual aggregate cap on tax credits for research activities that DBED may certify. Requires certification of the tax credits for research activities on a first-come, first-served basis to be based on the date that the completed application is received, subject to certain conditions. First, we have Department of Taxation with comments.
Lord Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, which was the taxation testimony, offering comments.
Thank you very much. And next we have HTDC in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Len Higashi from Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. We stand on our testimony in support. We also want to thank the Chair for hosting Manufacturing Day at the Capitol yesterday. Along with the Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii and HTDC, we had some of the businesses here. So appreciate the members taking the time to talk to the businesses that some of them rely on this tax credit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we have Oceanit in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Matthew Sullivan from Oceanit. We submitted our written testimony. Had a couple comments to make. R&D tax credit is one of the few public policies that supports our local industry here. It supports good paying jobs for locals and helps to stem the brain drain here. So it's a good bill. This bill extends the sunset date by 5 years and increases the cap from 5 to 15 million. We requested 2 amendments to the bill. The first is to add clarifying language to focus the tax credit on local businesses. The original language added a 75% limit or requirement of employees being local, and the AG office said that was maybe not constitutional, so the WAM incorporated changes into it that inserted small business language. However, that was not tied in the bill as the definition. So the definition was added, but it wasn't really tied to the language of the bill. So the first request is to tie them together because I think that intent is good. The second is to remove the pro rata language that's in the bill. The intent of the language, we believe, is good. Every year there are many more companies that apply for this than can get it. So for example, last year, 34 companies applied, were qualified by HTDC, 9 received it. So there's not enough money every year for local companies that need to get this. Pro rata language attempts to spread it evenly, but we believe as an operating business, it will make it difficult for us to actually use this tax credit because it'll further delay the process to receive the tax credit. It's been slow to receive tax credits. I know DOTAX has a lot on their plate, but that's been a challenge. In addition to that, it will add uncertainty because of a lot of these companies do work with the government. They get audited, and if you're splitting the pie, throughout this pro rata, if one company gets audited, it creates uncertainty for what everybody else gets. And ultimately, we as Oceanit are using this to hire employees, hire interns, purchase capital equipment. So it's difficult for us to make those types of expenses and justify them if we're uncertain how this tax credit's going to end up coming back. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next we have Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii will stand on a written testimony be available for questions.
Thank you very much. And Chamber of Commerce Hawaii in support.
The Chamber stands on its written testimony in support as well.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Members, any questions?
I'm sorry, I have a question. Sorry.
Majority Leader.
Yes, for the tax department, Mr. Richmond. Just to clarify, how much is this the maximum tax credit that's awarded to firms?
So at the moment, it's every year kept at 5 million.
5 million?
Yes.
Okay. And then how long does it usually take from the time someone applies for or gets awarded and then applies for the tax credit? How long does it take to receive the?
Appreciate the question. I would defer to DBED because they would do the certification, and that certification is submitted when they file their tax, and sometimes they send amended tax returns. It varies, and depending on when the tax is being credited or not.
Okay, thank you. So I can ask DBED or HTDC?
Thank you. The certification is done by DBED. HTDC has been assisting with the process in the past few years. Applicants are required to initiate their application on March 1st. The application period ends March 31st. and certifications are provided to them in June.
Okay.
And then it's up to them when they file.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Len, real quick, could you just respond to the Oceanate's proposed amendments about the pro rata portion?
Sure, and appreciate the question and opportunity to talk about that. So the pro rata language was initiated and suggested by HTDC. So this was initially part of a different bill with the governor's message, but it was with a $5 million cap in mind. And currently, I think there's request for close to $15 million. In that case, it was leaving a disproportionate number of companies out. I submitted testimony that last year, in 23 seconds, basically the cap was exhausted, which left 9 companies with tax credits and 25 companies without. And that was a really it's bad policy in our opinion. The pro rata share would have attempted to split everybody who applies on the first day. Another proposed solution is increasing the amount of tax credits available. That would also allow more companies to claim the credit. I need probably a little time to think about just getting rid of the pro rata share, but I do understand the points made by Mr. Sullivan, and I think that's, by raising the cap, our biggest concern in terms of the disproportionate number of companies who are not able to receive is being addressed.
So in the short, with 15 million, we probably don't need the pro rata language.
I believe it would be acceptable.
Thank you. Any further questions, members? Seeing none, we're moving on to Senate Bill 1296. Relating to Designated Economic Development District, establishes the Hawaii Economic Development District Planning Organization Board within DBED. Designates the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development to organize the Hawaii Economic Development District Planning Organization. Establishes 2 full-time exempt positions, makes an appropriation. First, we have Office of Planning and Sustainable Development in support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Majority Leader. The Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, I'm speaking on behalf of the Director, is in strong support of this measure. This measure will allow more federal funds to come to government agencies and nonprofits that support economic development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we have DBED in support.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair Scott Murakami, on behalf of the DBED Director's Office, we stand on our written testimony and strong support.
Thank you. And that's everybody signed up to testify. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none. Members, any questions? All right, on to our last measure, Senate Bill 1437, Senate Draft 1, relating to pass-through entity taxation. Authorizes certain pass-through entities to elect to pay Hawaii income tax at the entity level. First, we have Department of Taxation with comments.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you very much. Next, Pacific Rim Land LLC in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I'm Alicia Thompson with Pacific Rim Land, and we would like to stand on our written testimony, but we would also like to highlight that allowing this election would be a great financial benefit to many small businesses in Hawaii, and it would have no material effect on state tax revenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we have the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce in support.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Karen Polk, Kapolei Chamber of Commerce, and we stand in support of this measure.
Thank you very much. And Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, member of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii. I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to explain what's going on with this bill. When business is conducted by a pass-through entity such as a partnership or S corporation, then the owners and not the entity usually pays the business tax. But this is a problem at the federal level because the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act put in a $10,000 limit on deductibility of state and local taxes. It's not a problem with state tax in Hawaii because we do not conform to that limit. So it's again exclusively a federal problem. What the bill does, and there is IRS guidance that says it works, is it says, okay, we'll let the entities themselves pay the tax, and then they are not hobbled by the $10,000 limit. So we think this is sensible. Other states have done it. There really is no reason we shouldn't do it as well. We also think that the treatment, the definition of a qualifying entity should be extended to single-member entities such as limited liability companies, whose owners have the same problem. Except there's only one entity, one owner, as opposed to two owners in a partnership or an S corporation. So if that change is made, we think that would be more equitable. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. So all the members signed up to testify. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, we will recess for decision making. Welcome back, everybody, to our economic development hearing today for decision making. First up, we have Senate Bill 924, Senate Draft 2, House Draft 1, relating to taxation. This measure, which eliminates a home mortgage exemption, interest deduction for second homes, which I think is a good idea. $12 million is a good amount of money, so we're going to be passing this out as is. Members, any questions or comments? Representative Perry.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. There's many multi-generational families in Hawaii that sometimes under one last name they'll buy multiple homes so that the family can have a lower overhead. So I think this tax credit for those multi-home families is a good thing. So to eliminate this might not be the best thing, so I'll be voting no.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, comments? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
We are voting on SB 924. Recommendation of the chair is to pass as is. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Member Hussey Burdick.
Aye.
Member Kong.
No vote, please.
Member Lachika excuse. Member Nakamura.
Aye.
Member Quinlan.
Aye.
And Member Perrick is no. Chair, your measure is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next measure, Senate Bill 597, Senate Draft 1. There's a lot of ways that we intend to help this group of taxpayers. Unfortunately, this measure is not going to be the vehicle this year, so we're Okay, welcome back to our decision making. We're going to go back one bill just to read out the last measure in case it didn't catch on the recording. So for Senate Bill 801, Senate Draft 2, relating to a qualified internship tax credit, wanted to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Hawaii Kids Can for putting in the work to make amendments on this measure. We will be accepting the amendments proposed by Hawaii Kids Can, except for the last portion in Section 4. We're going to require the Department of Taxation to include in its report additional recommendations and proposed legislation to the legislature on amending the tax credit, or instead proposing a grant program, and defecting the date to 6/30/3000. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
We are now voting on SB 801. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, noting the excused absence of Member La Chica. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? Chair, all other members vote aye. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. On to Senate Bill 951, Senate Draft 2, related to the tax credit for research activities. We will be making a few amendments. We're going to be accepting the amendments from Oceanit on the clarification. We will also be, which is going to be removing the pro rata share language, and we're going to be amending the amount in this bill to $25 million. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
We are now voting on SB 951. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Noting the excused absence of Member La Chica. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All other members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
And moving on to Senate Bill 1296, Senate Draft 2, relating to Designated Economic Development District. I think this is an important measure. We'll be moving it forward. We will be increasing the position count to 4 and defecting the date to 6/30/3000. Members, any questions or comments?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. This bill would expand the government, so my hopes is that the government would decrease, so I'll be voting no.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, comments, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
We are now voting on SB 1296. Recommendation of the chair is passed with amendments, noting the excused absence of Member La Chica and also the no vote from Member Perrick. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All other members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. And for our last measure, Senate Bill 1437, relating to pass-through entity taxation. We will be moving this out with a defective date of 6/30/3000. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members, we are now voting on SB 1437. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Member La Chica. Anyone voting no? Anyone voting with reservations? All other members vote aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.